Next world is Starrylands, which means that Baba is going to space. Again. Although with all the clouds and the planes, I guess it's more like Skyland. Also, I don't even play as Baba in a lot of the levels, so I guess everything I said was wrong. Anyway, here's Harmful Presence. A seemingly very easy level, but as soon as you try to go to the flag, the new keyword makes itself known. Above. Text above Baba is empty. It is fairly self-explanatory. It's conditional, and the phrase that is created only applies to when the condition happens in a greater Y value than the object that it's affecting. I don't really know how much more that I can say about that. But that does mean that this level is going to be fairly difficult to actually manipulate blocks, because if I get underneath any of them, they're all gone. Aside from that, though, this is very similar to a lot of the solitary isle levels, where if you know how move and the, right and up keywords work, you can pretty much remote control KK trivially. Because all I need to do is get him over there, and actually even one less than that, because I need to push this one more time. Get him not facing right, but facing up. I really don't need that push anymore. Move. Actually, have him just go make the entire full trip around here one more time, and then pretty much go right, and I can get rid of that pipe as stop and beat the level pretty trivially. It is, as long as you understand pretty much how, the whole move and right works, and how you can do that without accidentally, say, destroying each one of the pieces of text, you can finish this level nice and easy. And in fact, I could go get rid of the whole above is empty thing if I wanted to down there, but let's just finish up the level. There's a lot of those levels where you generally have you can mess around a lot more with the text after you solve everything, but there's really no point in actually doing that. So this is almost the exact same level, except grass and pipe is reversed. And you also have a little bit less room to sort of mess around with. But I'll be honest here, it's otherwise largely the exact same level, so I'm going to solve it in essentially the same way. Just make sure that I get KK sort of in the right position. Here, let's just set the KK keyword over there because I just want it to move once. Go right, because due to the whole bouncing off of solid objects, right can pretty much be equated to left. And then just go up again, get rid of that grass is stop, and then I can just destroy the whole pipe is stop as easy as anything else. I still need to just one more motion here. Otherwise, I'll have to end up waiting for him to bounce up and down a few times before I'm able to get everything in the right position again. All right, and then from there, I could try messing around with stuff to say, I don't know, destroy the text above Baba thing or whatever, but because Baba's U is directly above the text above Baba, I think it's much easier to just deal with the pipe is stop instead. Which is exactly what I am going to do if I press the buttons correctly here. So yeah. And there we go. Nice and simple. But I said last time that Starrylands is short, but quite difficult. And even though the keyword here is not very difficult to understand so far, there are many interesting things that you can do with it that are just really difficult to wrap your head around. I mean, after all, giving yourself, again, the empty keyword, maybe the most difficult one to understand in the entire game, is a good beginning here alone. But as you can see, the whole deal here is that as soon as I do this to actually get into the whole gem area, then I can't get out. So the obvious thing here is noticing immediately that there is no key is key or bug is bug, which means that I can just turn the keys into bugs if I want to, and that makes that easy enough to just send one in to be sacrificed while the rest of them are, hanging out outside of the statue prison. But the problem is then I have absolutely no ability to actually open up these doors. And that's where below comes in. Yes, below is the exact same thing as above, but it works in the opposite way. I don't know why I need to explain that, but you get it. It's like, and using empty here. Well, you can't really make empty U. Empty U is, I mean, like I said back in the Embrace Infinity, Enter the Infinity, I think it was level, back in Familiar Land, that the only way empty can actually successfully complete a level is if empty is the win condition at the same time empty is you. So I can try to maybe mess around to get things working in a specific way, you know, get things pushed and then push like bug or key is you. Well, not key is you because key is defeat. Into the right way to make this work, but nah, that's not. You can see right now that there's a lot of these brick paths around here and all of this grass and everything. It's clearly intended to make absolutely sure that you can't say just make empty U for 1 second so that you can push this down and then not have to worry about locking yourself out from areas. No. The entire thing here is that you want to use empty, below, etc. to try and make things work. And the thing that I was talking about before, about making the keys into bugs, does in fact apply here. Because the entire reason why this is so overly decorated in a lot of places is because that means that there's a lot of places that are not empty. So, say if you wanted to make a conditional here, that is not just turning literally everything that is below empty or below a key or whatever into a bunch of other stuff. But you can't turn anything that's empty into anything else, but you can turn the keys into other stuff. That means just figuring out how to make the conditional work so that you still have 3 keys to open up these doors, but you don't, you you still have 1 bug that stays outside of the prison. That means pretty much, since keys are pushed, just kind of push them in a good position here. Like, that should work. This should work. And I suppose this will probably also work too, right? Because the entire thing that I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to make it so that a key below empty is bug. That means that because none of these keys are below an empty space, that's not what I want to do, because none of these keys are below an empty space, they will all remain keys. However, this one over here is below a lot of empty spaces. So that one will be turned into a bug. Still can't turn empty into anything, though. Yeah, this is very similar to just using on in a lot of ways, but you can see how key below empty, gotta actually do this correctly, you know, is bug. It's just learning how to use conditionals in specific ways, much like how in the what was that entire area called? The garden, I think, in the original game when On was first introduced. Kind of understanding how to make those conditionals work for you without, say, going overboard or just not functioning is the entire part of the puzzle. And after all, it's just like this is a very obvious sort of conditional to give you. You already have things like On that exist and everything, so just giving you the ability to make them more comprehensive without affecting everything in the level, I think it makes a lot of sense as a keyword. Though stuff like to the left and to the right of an object, I don't even know what that would look like as a keyword specifically, which is, I guess, why we only have above and below. To left, to right, something. I guess you could probably fit that into a single square. That's a lot of letters, though. All right, well, those are the first 2 easy sort of levels to ease you into using the keyword, and now things get a little bit trickier. And hey, Fofo, one of my favorite of the new characters. All right, it's got Fungus, Push, Fofo, Win up here. It's pretty clear with the way that this is set up that the only thing that you're going to be able to do with Win is push it out. But how do you push it out? because you can't really push anything in here. You can't really get other keywords from the side because of this little middle area. So what do you end up doing? Well, you do have word, which is, you know, it's not quite the same thing as empty, but it is still a very difficult sort of keyword to incorporate into puzzles sometimes because of how it works. I mean, that does mean that I have a lot more potential keywords to work with. If fofo is word, I got 2 fofos then. What does that do for me? More specifically, I have 2 funguses. Since I got 2 funguses, that means that obviously you're going to want to do something with turning those into words. But what? Well, the first thing to think about is that, you know, something like above, giving yourself that conditional does mean that you do have the ability to kind of mess around with how these things are pushed. So, for example, with the fungus, it's like fungus does not actually get pushed now unless I'm underneath it. I mean, I guess I meant that the other way around, because now fofo above fungus is pushed. Fungus above fofo is pushed, I suppose, is more specifically what I wanted to do. They even set this up here. They set this up in here in a very specific way so that you can't unmake that phrase and then remake it constantly. But here, let's just get a good example of what this thing looks like that I'm talking about. So yeah, now I can walk right through this fungus, but I can also get underneath it to push it. And that's why you have this sort of weird setup with how this corridor works. Because that means that what you can do is you can walk through the fungus and then go underneath it to be able to push it upwards. And similarly, you know, other stuff like that. But here, it's like if you're underneath it, you can't really walk up to it. You're just going to push it right into the corner and it's going to become inaccessible. So what do you end up doing? Well, that's where the word comes in. By having an awful lot of these fungus words, and noticing on the left over here that there's nothing that stops me from turning the fungus into other things. That it's much like the previous level, that we're going to want to have a little bit of controlled transmutation. Because obviously turning both of the funguses into fofo, not going to help. If you have 3 fofos, there's no way that you're going to be able to push that thing out there. You need to have at least one object that isn't going to be immediately destroyed by the fruit to just shove that win condition out of there. But how do you do that? Well, thankfully, like I said, with the whole word keyword, that means that I have a lot more fungus keywords to work with. So I can say stuff like fungus above fungus, fungus above fofo, except I really can't because I need to have something is fofo. And then I do have to break this phrase almost immediately, because otherwise, without the fungus being word, the other one's going to immediately turn to fofo as well. But yeah, there we go. All right, and that makes this a lot more convenient to try and mess around with things. I was talking about, I can't even remember, was it the last episode or maybe even the previous episode? How there are a lot of the puzzles that exist in Baba Is You that you can sort of describe as having 2 parts to them. Like, there's your initial part of the puzzle where you need to figure out, okay, how do I even get the conditions set to make this work? Because you can obviously figure out pretty easily that you do need to have like 2 fofos, and then you need to use the conditional pushing to make this entire thing work. But how do you get the 2 fofos? And that's like the first part of the puzzle. It's a weird how... I don't know, it's weird how often that comes up. Especially because a little bit later in this episode, we're going to have the absolute epitome of that coming up here. And we'll, of course, be sure to point that out when it happens. But here, don't really need the word keyword anymore. This should work out, though. And then, yeah, just gotta go set up the fofos to do it right. Let's say... yeah, like about here. So, for example, now there's a fofo underneath that. There's a fofo above actually pushing it to the right. And that means that I can just push it to the right as much as I want. And now I'm just going to get them set up in that way. And now I just got to break the fofo line. Now I can push it upwards, although I don't want to push it upwards just yet. Because what I want to do is I want to get that other fofo up here, ready for the push-in as soon as I get that mushroom into place. And sort of so on and so forth with how this works. It's a little bit finicky, it's a little bit weird, but at the same time, it does work out just fine. And then, yes, since I want to push it to the left, let's just get that second fofo over there. Walk right over this. Condition is met yet again. And now, there goes the fofo. There's the win condition, and that is everything I need to finish the level. A very sort of clever way to make that conditional work. Hard to kind of imagine, but if you just look at how the level is set up entirely, it makes a lot more sense over time. Harvest Party. I don't know what is up with the Forest of Fall type of levels appearing in Space World, allegedly, but here we are. All right. So we got Fear here, and we got Gigi, who clearly needs to move that is into place. This is very, very similar to like the barricade levels that I did in the previous section. And hey, we even got Mimic here. So you can see clearly that a lot of these levels are coming, are designed with you having seen some of the previous stuff in mind. But to start with here, all right, square is square, stop, and word. Well, obviously, think that what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make GG into a word. Just taking a look at it right now. Also, rock is pole, which is just always a fun treat to have to deal with. Such an annoying keyword. But yeah, if I get GG to mimic, you can see here right now that it's like pretty much if I get GG to mimic the square as a word. No, wait. I'll stop you from being pushed for just 1 second. So we can get this whole fear rock in place. There we are. And then get the rock over here to do the exact same thing. Wait, I do need to get rid of the push first. Oh, and deal more with the... Yes, making sure that items are intangible or tangible is kind of annoying. So yeah, here's the basic thing. Get him to move that, but then he moves it too far. And, well, gonna fail the level. All the fofos up there are not really helping anything. They seem so mocking looking at them. But I suppose the other easy thing to do would be to try and make it so that, you know, there's a conditional in play. Because after all, conditionals sort of are the entire whole gimmick above this. So if GG above Baba fears rock? Something like that? It's hard to get... And the whole thing with the rock being right here makes it very difficult to interact with. It makes you think that there's like, I don't know, certainly something more that you might need to do with it. But I mean, here's where, once again, here is where advanced Baba-isms come in. Where it's like, it seems like, yeah, getting it conditional so that, say... Well, I mean, I am going to need the rock in here, obviously. Actually, let me just, real quick. Okay. I want that GG to mimic that. But it's like, you want it to be in a very specific way, so that, like, GG above Baba fears rock. Something like that, which is what you're sort of looking for. Because that's why they have this entire thing set up down here, like that. So the easy thing to do would be to reset the level like this. Kind of reset up everything over here again. I want to make sure that mimics eventually. Want to go get GG over here, although I suppose actually, wait 1 second, I do need to push this down one more square. Don't forget about that. All right. Okay. Above, need that fear in there because we're not going to be able to do anything. I need to get the auto move. You need to create the very weird movement here with GG fearing the rock. So I can say Baba fears rock, except I don't actually want to do that like just yet. Because having Baba fear the rock is not really going to be doing too much good for me. Now I need GG to be over here. So let's actually just real quick... Look, I'll get this all into place very quickly here. Get that GG to be pushed. All right, GG. Don't want to get that Baba fears rock because that means that Baba's going to be trying to like run away in a very obnoxious fashion. But whatever. Anytime that you get near rock like this. Okay. Ah! It's okay, though. I can get it to work. Get it to work over here. There we go. Okay. Now then. Oh, I hate this so much. Yeah, but should be able to get the above out here. Oh, my God. As long as I have control over Baba, I can at least get Baba away there. So, now then. Conditionals, you know? It's gonna work out just fine until I do this. There we go. All right. Man, I tell you. So, need GG to mimic the square. Get him up here. Oh my God. Because if I try to wonder... Oh my God. Okay. Fine. I'll just set up this right now just because... Oh my God, please. Okay. Now, that should work. Except you can see it super does not work. And even if I got it perfectly lined up, the is would be out of the way well before I was able to actually get to that flag. So that's great. What are you supposed to do here? I mean, and that took so long to set up and everything. Well, here's what I said before. Here's where advanced Babaisms come into play. And I was thinking about springing the real solution on you immediately, but it's just like, no, let's go through the whole rigmarole of trying to set up that entire nightmare, because of course that is what I tried to do the initial time that I was doing that I was trying to beat the level, but nope. That is not how you want to do it. You see, there's a fun thing where creating words takes a turn for them to actually take effect. So fear, for example, takes effect, is in effect all the time. Mimic, on the other hand, means that I'm going to be creating an entirely new word every single time I'm underneath GG. What does that mean? Oh, don't worry. You'll understand very quickly as I get this entire thing set up. It's lots less finicky and everything that I was doing before when I do it like this. But it seems like that's what you want to do. You want to get like the whole big phrase there, but that big phrase is just going to push everything out of the way almost immediately. So get that GG fear in that rock there. Da-da-da. Oh, wait. Gotta get rid of the push, intangibility and all that. All right. Now, then, don't want the Baba to be mimicking that just yet. But I do want it to be like this. After all, there's only so many things you can do in this level. But at the same time, figuring out that you need to have it be like this is an important thing. So, like I was saying, creating a new phrase, for example, GG fears rock, is going to take one turn for it to actually take effect. How are you supposed to know this? I don't know. But observe. So you can see how it's like you have to be underneath before GG even fears the rock. And And that means that it's... Yeah, because otherwise if GG fears the rock when Baba's... If you have that other conditional there, then it's just like gonna sprint right away from you, and then the big, huge trail of letters is just going to destroy the is before anything can happen. However, by having it take a turn before it even takes effect, the GG is not constantly running forward. I don't even know if I explained that very well, but hopefully you get it. After all, one of the things that happens is that it eventually, you just get it because there's only so many things that you can do. Alright, this is a weird level. So, as you can see, 8 above lamp is defeat, so you can't even, you're locked into a very small part of the level. Car is fall and melt and win, text is melt, everything's melt, just everything's melt. Keep that in mind, because that means that it just can't. You're stuck in a very tiny part of this level, pretty much. Because above, it just means that, yeah, it can affect a lot of different things. It isn't the same as on, which can only do so much. And then we also got level is open, plane on vine is shut, so don't get those planes to go onto the vine. That's why you can't just have, say, move over there constantly. Because otherwise things will be not great. Not great at all. Well, anyway, this is again like another conditional thing, and you can see immediately that there's a very obvious sort of way to make this work. With the way that the lamps are set up there, you can see that it's you can't just have the car go straight, because if the car goes straight, it's just going to go right into the lamps and burn right up. However, with the way that this is set up, you can clearly see that that if I make it go diagonally down, on the other hand, that's going to be a lot better. I'm going to be in a lot better position with that, which is why pretty much as soon as you notice that, then figuring out how you want to do this is obvious. After all, like I keep saying, there's only so many things you can do in each one of these levels, and that's, I mean, that's true for any puzzle. That's true for just about any problem, period. That once you see what you can do, then the solutions that you can make are sort of limited. So yeah, the idea here is that I want to create like a big staircase of planes for this car to go down, because I can't get it to go straight. It falls, after all. I can't just create one, big bridge right across there, because it's going to burn up because of the lamps. But how do you make a big, how do you make some sort of big staircase of planes? Conditionals, of course. Do you expect anything else, really? Alright. And then pretty much what I want to do is I want to have that plane move, but I want to have that plane move in a very particular and specific way. And with a bunch of planes over each other like that. Elegant in its solution. After all, once again, there's only so many things you can do. When you have most of the level locked off from you, it's like, what else are you going to do? And yes, the planes need to be pushed so that they're solid, so the car doesn't fall through them. Because after all, if they weren't, yeah. It gets picked up by its car, gets a ride to the airport and everything, even though it just pushed around a whole bunch of planes. Yeah. I feel like these levels in particular, I am explaining just extraordinarily poorly. I'm trying here, but Baba Is You is a game that has so many little rules here and there to follow, especially in the new adventures, that if you're not super familiar with how everything works already, it's kind of hard to even follow. Alright, belt is push. And I can get quite a few bits of belt out here. Don't think I can get that last one, but I can get pretty much all of these to work with. Of course, the real new thing is this new keyword, nudge. So how does nudge work, you might ask? Well, let's set it up with the belts right now. So, as you can see, it's sort of like move. At least initially, it seems like just a variation on the move keyword, but in reality, it's actually more of a variation on the shift keyword. Specifically, the objects that are affected by nudge act as if they are being constantly shifted up in a direction, well, upwards in this case, but it can also be left, right, down, whatever the particular keyword happens to do. And they retain the position they're facing. You can like fight against it if you still have movement of your character to prevent them from moving in a direction. And when they hit a wall, they don't bounce off of it and continue to go backwards. So unlike, say, the Flight Academy levels back in Familiar Land, where you could see, even if you have a character locked to the right, for example, that they'll sort of bounce off the wall. Here, as you can see, the belts are they're just staying up against the wall. Now, along with how shift works, that does also mean that the nudge is, since it is just a play on how shift functions, then that does mean that it does also work in the same turn as when an object is moving aside from the nudging. That's going to be important for another level, which is why I'm bringing it up right now. And yeah, if you're wondering, hey, why can't I just have text is nudge? Well, the U gets out of there. All right. So the entire thing here is that, yeah, I can get all of these various belts working, but as it turns out, I really only need 2 of them. All these are useless. Because you can already see kind of how things work. What you want to do is you want to get these things pushed upwards, kind of get everything lined up well enough. And then what you want to do is you want to have things pushed over so that they make the proper phrases. Pipe is open, pipe is shut means that it's just going to destroy the pipes. Flag is win means, well, flag is win. What more can I even say about that? Can't move through here. Not going to be able to do anything with that. So don't even try. No, you've got to use these belts to shift stuff around. And then obviously you started out with a belt as push, and then you got a nudge. Well, you can nudge things upwards fairly easily. Let's just kind of do that right now. For example, the flag. So, yeah, and then, or about there. And it's just like, and then because you can see, you can easily create a text is not push sort of scenario. And because, like I said, things retain the position that they're facing even if they're being nudged. That means that because the text is no longer being pushed by that, then it just gets shifted over because belt is shift. It's just, you know, not very useful in any way except to get that whole thing working. So this entire level is a good introduction to exactly how nudge works, even though it is a lot of different things seemingly at the beginning here, given, thrown at you. You can figure it out. You can figure out the basics of it because, well, after all, only so many things you can do. The real thing, though, is trying to line this up correctly, which I think, because I want to get it underneath the letters, or underneath the words, and I want to make sure that it's being pushed right, because everything needs to be pushed right to actually, you know, get into position correctly. Should that do it? Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it just fine. Everything is in position now to do this well, so I want to make sure that I get the nudging and the not push all at the same time activated, just because if I don't do that, then it'll push the stuff upwards first, or I won't be able to push the text, or it won't work out well. And there we are. All right. Oh, that's the end of the area, too. By the way, I should be getting to the point where I'm actually... Oh, no. Opens up yet another world here. Not quite to the end of stuff, but now we got Eyeball World. Oh, no. No, hey, I just did. That's the end. That's the end of New Adventures. If I want to end New Adventures, it's right here. This is the end of it right here. It's funny to think how many levels that I've already solved and how many more levels that I have to do. There are worlds. There are, two more worlds that I haven't even touched just yet. That, and yet I'm able to finish up New Adventures if I wanted to. Shiny ladder. All right, this level is something. Because, okay, all right. This is, like I said, one of the levels that I was going to be coming up to here is just the absolute epitome of the two-part puzzle thing, and that is this one. But it's also the absolute epitome of understanding how exactly shift works. So I said, it's a culmination of a lot of weird little bits of knowledge that you need to know about Baba as you to solve some of these puzzles. So pretty much, immediately here. You can go over here if you want, but you'll just fall right back down. Now, obviously the way this is going to work is that because shift applies its shifting ability, and that includes nudging, because the nudge will happen in the exact same turn, if I am being nudged left, when I press up here, I will go into the next free space. I'll climb the shiny ladder, as the level is called. However, I do need to get it so that I am pretty much constantly being pushed left and right over and over. You can see that sort of setup there, and it makes it obvious how that's supposed to work. But there's all this other stuff here too. What's up with like the text? What's up with like the has? Well, like I said, this is the epitome of the two-part puzzle, because the robot is weak, the has, text, everything like that is literally only here to make it so that you can create one extra robot keyword. And then after that point, I'll get rid of the weak. Don't need it anymore. Get rid of the has. Don't need that one anymore either. All super totally pointless. The only thing that existed was to give you one extra robot keyword. It is, and then you just think about how powerful the has keyword and the text keyword is in most other levels, that the idea here that you're not actually supposed to use them to create this whole nudging mechanism, the nudging machine that I'm trying to do, is seemingly absurd. Like the first time that I saw this level, I thought it was supposed to be something where, by like making Baba is weak and Baba is push at the same time, which you obviously can't do looking at the bottom left of the level. It's like you could kind of create a bunch of extra Babas attempting to run into this stardust so that you could eventually create a huge pile of Babas to lead you up to the But no, it's like Baba can't be weak, Baba can't be push. Literally the only thing that the weak and has is for is just to give you a few extra pieces of text. Or not even a few, just one extra piece of text. And I got it. Let's make this nudging machine. All right, it doesn't matter what direction these guys are facing, just because, remember, nudging is not like move. It does not, change the direction that things are facing. They retain the direction, regardless of what they look at. And then I just need one more is here. Well, actually, I do need Bob up here as well. You can see sort of what I'm doing. The robots are just going to push the keywords back and forth. And I think specifically I'm going to need them to go right first. And then pretty much regardless of where the robots get nudged to, they are going to be able to nudge them in the opposite direction because of that. And because Baba is sitting there in the middle, Baba also gets that same sort of property applied to her. So there we are. It's a cute little mechanism that's really mostly useful for this level, but it's just like, the entire thing is, just having two characters on different sides of text means that you can, undo text as easily as you do it. You saw that in like Parakeet Bouncer, for example, back in Familiar Land. But here, because the nudge works to just kind of go back and forth like that, and you have both nudge left and right, you have two objects to work with that, and you have two keywords to work with that, makes it so that you can create this sort of thing. And then because, like I said, this works that the nudge, that when I press up in the same turn, I am also nudged left. then I kind of go diagonally in a corner without ever interacting with the dust. If I had that silly trick thing where the dust was solid, then you could do something different with that, but here it's just, I mean, obviously, puzzle solved. Still, though, that has and text and weak and everything just to create, purely to create one extra robot keyword, when you've seen in the past some of the levels that the text and has can be built around. It's so absurd, and I think is pretty yeah. He's just like the perfect encapsulation of some of the little mini puzzles that exist in the new adventures. All right. Okay. First thing to note here, we got to make. Second thing to note, we got all these things that are sync. And clearly this whole little roundabout that means that I cannot push even text in there. And if I could push text in there, it wouldn't matter because it's all float anyway. So what do? Well, this is, yet again, another way that nudge is going to be very useful. Because after all, if I say go and make a rocket push right now. There we are. Now, if I have that rocket go and fall this way, then what I can do is I can just make the rocket move then. And that'll take out at least one of the pieces of dust. And that's the sort of basic concept that I want to do, because I'm going to end up destroying every single one of the bits of dust there. How? With the magic of the make keyword. Because after all, make can just, create an infinite amount of objects that can all, say, be used to sink every piece of this dust, allowing me to use the, what is this called? Sun Boulevard to walk over to the UFO. But how do you make that happen? Well, the fall there is pretty easy to get it into position to, to shoot the rocket down to the dust. But what about the whole make thing? Well, remember what I said about how nudge will retain the position of the rocket? So does make. Make means that make will create an object facing the same direction as the object that is making it. So, for example, the rocket is facing down right now. All I need to do is get this thing nudging over, and that will create an entire army of robots all facing downwards, all ready to march directly into that stardust to destroy it. And in fact, that is exactly what I'm going to do. It's a very cute use of, the very, very particular properties of how the nudge keyword works. It's the sort of thing that, if you don't realize that, yes, make creates objects that face the same direction. This is the sort of thing that makes a Starry Land so extremely difficult, where you have to understand stuff like, shift applying in the same turn as like any other movement modifiers, the way that when you create a phrase, it takes a turn to actually take effect. Things like make creating objects in the same direction as the object that it's creating it is facing. This is advanced Babaisms in a nutshell. Milky Way. Hey, here's another one right here. Somebody mentioned, somebody made a comment in the first episode saying something along the lines of, apparently fall means that you don't actually interact, that it just resets your position. You don't actually interact with anything on the way. This is the level. This is the level when I said that, keep that in mind for the future. This is the exact one that I was referring to. Because as you can see, there's no make here. Well, I mean, there's a make UFO, but not one that I'll be able to, say, create an entire army of robots to destroy all of this dust. However, there is now this fall keyword, All I need to do is just go and just make sure that I can get in a position where I can get the bird to fall across all of that stardust. And how are you supposed to know this? I don't know, man. But, well, you got to figure it out if you want to pass this level. Whoops. Well, anyway, first thing I need to do, and this is your initial tiny puzzle before you do the actual puzzle, go and get this robot making UFO in the correct position. And that's, as simple as just sending the rocket over there to push it into position. Yep. Wait for it to get back here because I'm going to need to push it around a little bit. And then what do I need to do? Well, one, the obvious thing is that I am going to need to go get the bird to fall to the right. And that's easy enough to do. And easy enough to do in the sense that I can do it right now if I want to. As you can see, I did not get destroyed by the sun closest to the is you, but the one closer to the make UFO. There's your hint. But anyway. Yeah, and then the other thing is that once I fall through all of the stardust, I'm also going to need to not fall through. I'm also going to need to stop falling because, well, I need to be able to, actually, let's set this in a different way. I need to be able to also not be falling to actually get to the UFO in the first place. So I got this little divot here, so that pretty much I can push the fall into there eventually. Because here all I need to do is just go and get these rockets moving in the right way. Just gotta go get them schmoving. We should be good. Kind of position them in a way that it's going to take quite a few turns to actually set up this keyword, but fall. How are you supposed to know this? I don't know. Experimentation, I suppose. Look, New Adventures is not for the Baba novice. I've told you before that I got my degree in Babology, and I think that's very obviously coming into play here. Oh my god, what a ridiculous level. What a ridiculous world. I was warned even from the very beginning that Starrylands is when things start to get serious, and you can see this right now. It's like I feel like I'm not even giving it justice as far as how I'm even trying to explain how any of this works. Okay. Anyway, this is a Skygate, yeah. So you can see pretty much the entire shtick here is that you want to get the sun, moon, and star to be empty, and that'll get me down to the flag is win. Get a text keyword. I can get that text to be nudge, but you can see if I do that, then the flag is win is going to be kind of out of position for me to actually do stuff. Additionally, it locks me out from the rest of the level if I have that ice become empty. So I'm going to have to get that rocket to do all my filthy, disgusting work for me. Additionally, I also have all of these stop keywords, which means that, say, if I get the rocket to be moving in a specific way, then these things are just supposed to be extra bits of like a stopping power for me. And here's where I got to admit, I don't know what the actual solution to this puzzle is. I figured out a solution to this puzzle, but there's this stuff like facing and text, and I'm like, I don't know what it's supposed to do. Because the big thing with trying to figure out how this puzzle works is that pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to be getting nudge and move to be doing the same thing. So that what's going to happen is that this rocket here is going to kind of ping pong back and forth, which is why you have these specific divots like this so that it can move to the left. And then kind of make like a big diagonal sine wave type of thing to push all of the is's into place. Why is there the text and facing keyword? And like I said, it's just very easy to use text as a resource, specifically as places to prevent the rocket from going. I don't know. I'm sorry, Hempuli. I don't know what the right solution to this puzzle is, but I do know this one works. Yeah, just remember that nudge always retains the direction that the object is facing. So this is essentially as if I were to get the rocket to be moving, to have like move left as well as it's also moving up and down. And that is exactly what's going to be happening here. Observe. However, I just don't know what everything else is. You can see I need to put that little stop over in the corner to make sure that it didn't fall into that divot. I had that extra like facing and text just to give a little bit of a buffer so that the is gets pushed into place. I don't know what the right solution to the puzzle is. I'm sorry. I ruined the puzzle. I ruined your puzzle. Let's see. If I had any idea what the correct solution was, I would have done it. But this one works. You can't argue with the fact that I finished this level, right? I also got an extra version of it too, Spaceport. Is this one going to require me to do it correctly? No, I'm sorry. It's not. So, big difference here. One, you can push things too far. And that does make a pretty big difference, which means that I can't just have the rocket like the ping-ponging about yet again, as much as I'd like to. We are also given a bunch of extra resources to make this work too. Also, the rocket is now shift, which definitely does make something of a difference. Because one of the real wacky things with how exactly the shift keyword works is that even if an object has no other properties associated with it, if it is shifted into, say, a keyword, it still does in fact push that keyword, or any sort of pushable object. You can go and watch, like, I can't even remember, one of the levels in the Deep Forest world back in the original playthrough, when they first introduced the shift keyword. I realized that, and I set up this the most elaborate, ridiculous solution to a puzzle that that didn't even work. It was like I was like one turn or like one tile away from making it actually work, where I was using non-interactable objects to push around keywords. But anyway, here it's actually gonna like work a little bit, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go get these UFOs to be in the right position, and they are going to get pushed into these keywords, well, at least this one is, without actually pushing it too far. I mean, aside from that, I'll be honest, this is just mostly just going to be, like, otherwise the same solution to everything. You know, take away all of the interactability from that. Like, move and text, just want to make, again, a buffer so that all I want to do is just, much like the shiny staircase. It's like, yeah, it's going to move in the same turn. It's going to move down and to the left. But it also does, for whatever reason, push this piece of text at the same time. I don't know why. It's so weird. Anyway, wait, no, I do actually need that move keyword. That one I shouldn't kind of walk off from everything. Sort of forgot about how that I was doing that. Text, still don't know how to do stuff with. UFO doesn't matter, because like I said, if an object is shifted, it doesn't matter if it has any other properties. It still retains a solidity despite that. But yeah, the other thing to realize with this level that can make it a little bit tricky is how exactly do you get this to work in a way where it's going to... Nope, not like that. How exactly do you get this to work in a way where it's going to, say, shift everything in the right position without it, when you can't really ping-pong around stuff correctly? Well, as it turns out, you know, you don't actually need to have it moving and nudging at the same time. You can just... There. And see, that's when I move the move keyword into place. It's very simple. A very simple little extra. I don't know what the actual solution is. I'm so sorry, I'm Pooley, that I'm ruining all of your levels. But once again, I did get the congratulations. Right? Right? Rapid growth. Oh, this is a fun one. All right. Okay. Just look at the amount of things that you have going on here. Okay, text on Tex's wall. We are not comboing pieces of text together. Good try on that one. Because, how exactly would you do that? Well, with nudging, I think that you could maybe get Baba to be combined with Baba. If I say had like Gigi moving at the same time Baba was nudging. Maybe if I also made Baba solid by making Baba push. I could push two Babas together. And then like have like two, double Baba goodness. And double Babas being nudged are going to make Baba move extra fast past stuff. Look at that, doesn't matter. You can't do that. Can't change Gigi into something. You can't change Gigi into Skull, but that doesn't mean that you can change Gigi into Baba. What does that mean, though? Because the problem is that if you turn Gigi into Baba, well, as soon as Baba walks onto these flowers, they turn into walls. So you can't have the Baba spaced out. And the problem is that multiple objects on the same sinking square all get destroyed. So it doesn't matter if you have one object on a sinking square. It's not like open and shut, where it only destroys one object if they're in the same tile. Sync destroys all objects and itself. So the only way I would be able to get two Babas in here is to have them be on the same square. They're both going to be destroyed. There's like, why is there a skull there? Well, I mean, okay, clearly I got a near. That's to start with. You can also push Gigi into place. Obviously, we're going to want to get Gigi moving in there eventually. And then similarly, text is a resource. So I'm probably going to want to just use the push after you get an object into place. Generally becomes a sort of unnecessary piece of the puzzle. So being able to sacrifice it to get rid of that piece of water is probably a good way to end up doing this. Skull. What do you want to do with Skull? Can't change Baba into a skull. Can't change Gigi into a skull. So Skull has to be part of the near keyword. Something near the skull, right? And obviously, since Gigi is not Skull, Gigi should be Baba, right? But it's like, you don't want Gigi to be Baba immediately. So have Gigi be Baba when it's near the skull. After all, you see how that skull is so weirdly positioned? It's clear that that's what they want you to do. And this is the whole thing where it's just like, yes, I am going to create a second Baba. However, I'm going to create a second Baba in a very controlled way. All right. Now, how do we do this? Well, it's pretty clear that from this point, as long as I have a second Baba that's not on top of the first Baba, I can use that second Baba to sync and get over to Hempuli there. So, I got nudge. I got move. Well, here's the thing. If I make Gigi moving, if I try and get Gigi schmoving here, and I can, and I will, then as much as I would like to get on top of Gigi, if I'm on the same square as Gigi, obviously I can go through the wall at the same time as Gigi. And then when Gigi gets near the skull, blah, blah, blah. However, here's the wrench that was thrown in your idea with that. Baba is push. And that means that you can't really get Baba to get on top of Gigi because of the whole pushing thing. If you try to move on to the same square as Gigi, Gigi's going to move right past you. If you try and get in front of Gigi so that Gigi moves on top of you, well, you're just going to get pushed by Gigi. And this is where nudge comes in. This is the entire reason why you have the nudge keyword here. so that Nudge nudges Baba right on top of Gigi at the same time. What a very complicated sort of maneuver to be doing here, but hey, it works. I just gotta make sure that I can line things up correctly. If I press right while I'm doing this. Yeah. Actually, I also do need to... Well, no, I don't want to do that. And there we go. Although I do want to also make sure that... actually, I can just go ahead of Gigi. That's right. And there we go. Now I got 2 Babas. Once again, I feel like I explained that extraordinarily poorly. I'm trying my best here, but this is not the easiest. God, this world. I prepped up so much to be able to solve all the puzzles, but I feel like being able to explain them still escapes me entirely. Oh, boy. Well, hopefully it's still an enjoyable episode nonetheless. I don't know. I'm trying my best here. Oh, all right. So, big difference right now. Flower on text is wall. So, no pushing text this time. But, you know, the skull is no longer in a weird position again. You also don't really have, like, the whole conditional stuff with the near and everything. So, what do? Well, if you nudge the skull over, that's not going to be able to do anything. I mean, really, the important thing to note right now is that if you do, in fact, have nudging on you, as you probably saw in the last level like that, not like that, you do move 2 squares at a time, and that means that you can do stuff like be able to move over skulls or other objects in that way. If you have like double movement, if you have like a movement when you have a U, if you have movement times 2, all sorts of stuff like that, will allow you to move over objects. And I think that's kind of what you're looking at actually attempting here right now. And then additionally, otherwise, it's actually very similar to the previous puzzle. You just want to kind of like get Gigi in the right position. I'll just kind of get you way over here. And as always, you know, tax is a resource. The skull doesn't even matter because it's just like, yeah, what am I gonna do? I can't turn Baba into a skull. I don't want the skull to be nudged over. It's like this is a red herring keyword here, as it turns out. I feel like a very rare thing for Baba is you in general. Well, anyway, I want to basically... And the thing is here, entirely, I don't actually want Gigi to become Baba. Because having Baba on Baba is, once again, that destroys both objects when on a sinking object. So I just want to, you know, like, get on top of here in the same way. And we both can pass through the flowers. And now the other difference is that I fight the nudging while Gigi just falls directly into the water. And then because of the extra movement speed, bam, and we're good. Actually, a much easier puzzle in some ways. Very similar to the previous one, but also way easier. As soon as you realize that, yeah, you don't really have any sort of interaction that you can do with the skull, and then you can just dump that keyword, it all kind of falls into place, right? Especially because you just solved this one, so you know that to be able to get 2 objects past the flower, the sturdy flowers, nudging on top is like the way to go. Because that doesn't work the same, because that doesn't prevent you from doing the pushing thing and whatnot. Well, this episode has been a mess. I'm sorry, everybody, but hopefully next time when we do the Land of Vehicles, it'll go a little bit better. A much larger, but also simpler world to understand.